Hey guys, welcome back to Steve's RC. My name is Steve Petrato, and this is one of the first AR20410 and Synapse combos in the world, and I'm excited to talk to you guys about it. A lot of these are headed out to our team pilots right now, and these will be available on the market in days. This is being filmed on February 13th, and I promise these will be available pretty darn soon. I'm not going to give a date, but we should be seeing these before March, maybe early March at the latest. I've already opened this. I shoved everything back in the box so I can kind of show you what it looks like, and we're going to talk about all the features. I'll try to put markers in the video so you can jump around if you don't want to hear me talk about the receiver for whatever reason. So first things first, guys, this is the newest and latest and greatest receiver and gyro system. They are not sold separately, and they won't be sold separately because you can only use this Synapse with this gyro, with this receiver rather, and you don't really ever need to unless you have a service problem with a Synapse, and we can send you a new Synapse or replace it if you ever have an issue like that. Let's say you have an accident and you damage it for whatever reason. So it won't be sold separately. The AS3000 and the old ones were, but these will not be. You have to buy that as a combo, and that's not to like force you into it, but there's really no reason to buy a Synapse. It doesn't work with anything else. So you would buy a Synapse and you would buy this receiver. So and the fact of the matter is now this gyro can work in basically any aircraft in the world, which is pretty cool because it is designed for turbine and giant scale applications. So let's get into it. The first thing, I'm just going to go through a quick unboxing. Again, this is not how it looks, guys. I shoved it all back in the box so I can show you, but you are going to get a few things here. You're going to get a manual, which again I'm not going to show you, and of course we'll have lots of how-to videos on setting this up. I'm going to be setting it up in my MB339, and I can walk you guys through that as well. This is what's included, so basically just bear with me. So you have two IC3 battery connectors. This is if you don't have IC3 receiver packs already. I do recommend you buy Spektrum Smart receiver packs with this unit. You don't have to use them, but you do get additional telemetry information from a Spektrum Smart receiver battery. You will get imbalance data. You will get cycles, number of cycles that you've used on those receiver packs. You will get overall voltage of the cells, as well as obviously the voltage of the battery, which you'll get through the power safe receiver, but you will get cell level data. And then you will also get temperature of your receiver packs too. So again, you can use regular LiPo 2-cell receiver packs with this. You just won't get the cell level data or that imbalance info or temperature, that sort of thing. So it's up to you. You don't have to use them. I do recommend it. The other nice thing about Spektrum receiver packs is I don't ever have to worry about pulling my receiver packs and discharging them. After a weekend of flying, they will discharge on their own, and I don't have to think about it. And it really does save the life of your batteries. If you've not invested or looked into Spektrum Smart batteries, I highly recommend you do. I don't just say that because I work for Horizon and I'm deeply invested in Spektrum Smart. Professionally and personally, I really believe it is the best system out there. There's just nothing better. So you're also going to get two little servo charge connectors. These are just there if you need them. I would say most people probably won't end up using these, but they're there if you want. You're going to get four, obviously, your satellite receiver cables of varying lengths from like short to long. So you will have the ability to move your satellites anywhere inside the airplane that you need to. And of course, you can always buy different ones if you need different lengths, but they do give you an option there. You will get a voltage telemetry line, which just allows you to get additional voltage readout from anything else. Let's say you want to, I don't know, have voltage readout from like a gear battery, or you want to see voltage readout of something else, you can solder this into it and you will get that data to your receiver. You also are going to get a baggie of all the hardware to mount your Synapse and to mount your receiver. So pretty simple there. Now inside of here, again, I opened it and it's not pretty looking anymore, but you will have a power switch. And this is a nice, soft, momentary power switch. It is no longer the switchy, back and forthy kind of ones. It is a aluminum push button one, and it will be a barrel kind of port like this. So you can mount it externally in your fuselage. If you're like me, you like to hide things so you don't ruin the edge of your fuselage. Or if you legally need to have your power switch on the outside of your airplane, you can do so. And it does have this nice little screw here, and there is a soft grommet in there to help kind of connect it. I've got mine mounted internally, and I like the way it looks in there. Also, if it is momentary, so if you bump it, you won't shut your airplane off. You have to press and hold to shut your airplane down. So you deliberately have to shut the aircraft off like this if you want to turn your electronics off. And it is a single servo plug, and this will allow you to have access to our sleep functionality as well, which we'll talk about on the receiver portion. So there's that, your power connector. You're going to get 4 satellite receivers. You're going to have 3 that look like this guy right here. This is the 9747, so you're going to have 3 of these guys right there. And you're going to have 1, and this is the 4651T. This is a telemetry satellite, and it has full range telemetry, so it's got these 2 antennas. These all have antennas too. They're not external, they're internal, and they work great. And then also this is going to give you vario, basically, and altitude. So you'll be able to have vario if you have like a sailplane, you want that do-do-do-do-do if you're ascending, or the descending tones if you're descending. And of course you're going to get altitude telemetry back to your radio. These all operate on SRXL2, which is just a communication protocol. We also use SRXL2 for smart ESC data, and we also use SRXL2 for the Sky Remote ID module, which many of you will be needing if you don't fly at a FRIA in the United States. So these are all that. You also have a little bind button on each one of these, so if you can't access one of them and you want to put the whole system in a bind, you've got this bind button, and you also have a bind button on your receiver. So those are your 4 telemetry, or those are your 4 satellites. Now, moving on to the receiver section. So this right here is the 2410T PowerSafe receiver. It is not the same as the 2400T PowerSafe receiver in that it is designed to work specifically with the Synapse, and unfortunately Synapse can't work with other systems. It's an entirely new piece of hardware, so don't expect your older 2410s or even prior models to work with the Synapse. Unfortunately, you're going to have to upgrade the whole system. Again, that's why we sell it as a combo. It's just we couldn't make it work. We wanted to, but we couldn't, so it's a whole new hardware setup. So this receiver has a lot of features on it, and I want to talk about each one of them. Obviously, we'll go through the connectors first. So you're going to have your 20 servo inputs here. You're going to have a power switch on the receiver as well, so you can power up the system through that. You have a bind switch, or a bind button, I guess I should say. You're going to have your Synapse port. Your Synapse port is a locking connector now. It used to be a simple push button or push-in connector. It is now locking, and we'll talk about that with the Synapse portion. You do have, of course, your standard RPM, XBus, temperature, and voltage plugs here as well, which is pretty standard even on previous models. And you have your 4 satellite plugins as well. This one now has it now has USB-C. The previous model had micro USB, and prior to that, you had to use like a Spektrum updating cable. But that's used for, so the USB-C is used for updating, so I do recommend you guys update your receivers occasionally. We do make some improvements throughout the years, and of course it's used for registering your receiver to your Spektrum RC account so that you can easily download your updates. So it's really just a super handy thing to have. You also have 4 grommet mounts here. These are kind of like a soft rubber mount. They're a little bit firm, but it does have a brass eyelet in there so that it doesn't crush, so you can mount it to your aircraft. And you have your 2 PowerSafe leads. These are going to be your receiver packs, so 1 and 2. With a PowerSafe system, the reason you want this in high draw systems is it allows you to have, of course, 2 batteries, so a large capacity over here in parallel. So I usually run like 2 S4000s. In larger planes, like my big FX Cub, I'm running 2 S5000 hard packs. Just gives me the ability to have more milliamps on board for an airplane that doesn't care about the weight. But in my MB339, for example, I have 2 S4000s for the PowerSafe, and I get many flights on that throughout the day. I'd probably never really have to charge if I'm going out to fly 4, 5, 6 times. So really nice setup. This also this does have your smart telemetry line. So you see this secondary line in here on both sides. That's going to again communicate with any smart receiver battery. Again, this is there for smart receiver batteries. It is not utilized if you are using standard receiver packs, but again, I do recommend you do that if you want to fully utilize the system. With those batteries, again, you're going to get, of course, the auto discharge, which is super handy and really improves the life of your batteries over time. Leaving LiPo batteries charged is probably the single worst thing you can do to them, but it does auto discharge. But really, more importantly, it gives you imbalanced data. So if your batteries are way out of balance for whatever reason, it will give you cell level voltage. It will give you temperature of your receiver packs, and it will also give you the number of cycles that your receiver packs have on them, all on your radio. So really nice to have the smart receiver batteries coupled with this system. Again, you do not have to use them. It will operate. You just will only get cell pack voltage. Obviously, through the main port here, you just won't get any other data if you're using a dumb LiPo, for example. So with this receiver, you're going to get a couple of neat things. I talked about the power switch being momentary and having that special shutdown sequence. You also get the ability now to sleep your aircraft. Previously, with an iX20, for example, we can sleep the radio, which is basically just like turning it off and not powering down the Android system. Well, this now allows you to sleep your actual aircraft. So when you come in, you land, you shut your engine down, and you go, let's say you're going to go grab your fuel, or you're going to go grab a sandwich or whatever, you can now just sleep the airplane. The whole airplane will shut down electronically. And it's like a remote start for your car. So when you come back to the airplane, you don't have to remove the hatch. You don't have to unscrew anything. You don't have to physically turn the aircraft on. You turn your radio on, you slide it over, and you slide the sleep up, and it will basically turn the aircraft back on, which is really cool. Boot it all up for you. I don't have to open doors. I don't have to open hatches. It just turns on, and the draw there, it keeps one satellite light on in one of these satellites, and that will allow you to automatically connect back to the airplane. A really cool feature. Other manufacturers are starting to incorporate this. Again, it's just a convenience factor at the field. It's always a pain on certain turbine aircraft to unscrew the canopy hatch, or on scale aircraft, get the whole hatch system off. Even on 3D aircraft now with the cool new latch systems, it's still a pain to go do that, open it up, plug it in, do whatever. Now, again, if you have to go and fuel it, you're probably going to pull the hatch off anyway. But again, sometimes you don't have to do that if you have an external fuel system. So really cool feature there. I'm not going to talk about Synapse just yet. I just want to make sure I'm covering everything on this. Oh, so let's just talk about the black box. So this is not new, but I wanted to cover it. This has the ability to accept a micro USB or micro SD card, and that will allow you to log all your telemetry data to an SD card. So I'll put on screen now all the different things that it captures. And that's just in the event that you ever want to look at your data to see if you have, if you start getting frame losses or holds or even fades. You can look at all that data. You can look at all the other, telemetry data, altitude, that kind of thing on that SD card. Just kind of gives you a sense of what the aircraft was doing in the event of an issue or any kind of diagnostics that you want to do. So black box, not new, but super cool to have. And the SD card does not come with it, by the way. So you'll have to add a micro SD card. You don't need a huge one. It's not a lot of data from a size perspective. So I talked about the sleep function. The next thing is fast boot recovery. Fast boot recovery is effectively allowing this system with Synapse to, and this is really more on the Synapse side, but we'll cover it for the receiver. So if you ever have a power interruption, if you ever have an electrostatic discharge for whatever reason, or if your gyro sensor becomes unplugged, which it shouldn't with the locking connector, but just in case any one of those scenarios happen, imagine for a moment that there's a gremlin inside your airplane and it quickly unplugs your batteries and plugs them back in while you're flying. Typically, you're going to have a pucker moment, but also you're going to not have gyro control anymore in existing systems. So for example, our AS3000, if you lost power or had an ESD shock in the airplane, it would basically go, uh-oh, I didn't calibrate my stabilization system. Just give the pilot back control, but turn off the gyro. Because most gyros need to arm while they're stable to understand what orientation they're in to basically arm. This system will automatically fire basically a saved calibration. So you're going to get gyro control right back, right away. That is really innovative. Nobody else on the market does it today, and this system does it. So it's pretty cool to be able to know if you ever have that problem. And I've experienced it. I actually had the siren that used to run inside my Stuka completely disintegrate and disconnect my AS3000 in flight. It was pretty exciting. And all of a sudden, I had a Stuka with no gyro. Not a big deal. I landed. It was fine. It felt a little funny in the air. But it's a scary moment to have that happen. But this system won't. Obviously, if you disconnect your gyro, you're not going to have a gyro. But if you ever had that, it'll cover you. It does have 12-volt servo support and regenerative servo support. So right now, Spektrum does not have servos that are either 12-volt or regenerative. But if you do operate servos with those features, this system now supports it. So that's really nice to know. This will also allow you to obviously, you have all your fail-safe programming. You can set up forward programming for fail-safe. I'll talk about that on the Synapse side with safe technology and that sort of thing. So all that's pretty standard. It does have the integrated kind of status LEDs. And I think I'm covering pretty much everything on this receiver. And if I've missed something, please put it in the comments. I talked about fast boot, regenerative, 12-volt servo. So that's pretty much all the important things there. The last thing is it will do, of course, 11 millisecond. And it can be boosted to 5.5 millisecond speed or frame rate if you have servos that can support it. So kind of nice to have that if you do need it. And that's pretty much everything on the 2410T. Again, really nice setup, world-class system, great for any kind of airplane that you've got, giant scale or otherwise. So, moving on to the Synapse. Whew. Okay, so Synapse is a completely new stabilization module, and AS3X Plus is the all-new algorithm that lives within inside this. So it's the new stabilization algorithm that's helping to control your aircraft under stabilization. So Synapse is this module. This is a machined aluminum case, and it basically encases the Synapse gyro sensor inside of here. And it has 3 soft mounts, which are a little softer than what's on the receiver, and that allows you just obviously to get rid of some vibration. And inside here is, of course, the gyro sensor itself, but inside here it is acoustically insulated. And what that means is, if you're a turbine guy, you know that your turbine is running 50,000 RPM or more, or 100,000 RPM, and it's putting off a massive amount of acoustic interference, noise, sound, right? So gyro systems don't like that. They don't like it at all. And this system was designed from the engineers at Spektrum to basically work in that scenario. So it is insulated from that sound, from that noisy environment. And it works great in turbine. Obviously, it's designed for that. Whereas other competitive systems sometimes work. And I'll be honest, my iGyro that's in my MB339 right now, which is getting removed, doesn't have a problem, really, with turbine in there. And I have a little KingTech 85 in my MB339. No problems there. However, certain systems require you to buy like a third-party box to like insulate your gyro system. So it depends. Obviously, the bigger your turbine is, the more kind of noise is inside your airframe. Maybe your airframe just resonates that noise a little more. This system will not have that problem, most likely. It is fully insulated from that scenario. So really cool feature there. This is, and I'll talk about AS3X Plus some, but this has a locking internally mounted connector, so it's not going to come out. And on this side, of course, you have a locking connector for your 2410T. Now, AS3X Plus is vastly improved from a flying characteristic standpoint, and there's a few reasons for that. The sensor on board obviously is modern day stabilization sensor, and it has the ability now to have 2 more parameters. That is stop, lock, and release rate. So that'll give you more ways to tune how the aircraft feels off stick center without having to reduce your gyro settings down to make it feel right. And if you want to learn more about that, you can watch the launch video. Miguel Alvarez, the lead engineer on this project, talks about kind of how that feels. Also, they have improved gyro filtering now, which gives you way more resolution and way more control. Way better feeling control, and they basically were able to kind of effectively double the gyro gain rates inside the system. Don't go out there and double your gyro gains, but it gives you way more resolution and way more control and feel in your aircraft. One of the key things with this new AS3X Plus is the default setting is a very, very good for most aircraft. It's so good that you can have your aircraft set up in like 5 minutes. Once you get it in flight and slightly tuned in, you can send it on the standard setup of the default settings, and then just tweak it in, and you can be basically flying a fully locked in gyro aircraft in like 5 minutes or less. I'm not kidding, from setup. So you can factory reset an airplane, and we're going to do a video on this. Ali will do a video on this on the Spektrum pages, where he factory resets his F-16 or whatever airplane he's using, sets it all up completely from stock, goes and flies it, tunes it in, and I promise you it'll probably be less than 5 minutes. Now, Ali likes to talk, so maybe it'll be a longer video, but the concept is this system is super easy to set up. There's no stick commands to memorize to access menus. There's no PC required. Everything is done from your radio via forward programming, or when you set up your gains, you can set it up on switches or knobs so that you can tune it in flight. So super easy to use. Again, it's Spektrum. It's going to be easy to use. That's what the team tries to focus on, is kind of user friendliness, and it does a damn good job at that. So I think that's really cool. With Synapse, you're also going to get 20 stabilized outputs. Obviously, it's got the better sensor on here, so just increased data rate and sensor accuracy. So that's going to be something that is important with the overall feel of the system. But it's just really what it comes down to is it's a modern sensor. The system can also have multi-gyro system support. So basically, if you're a thrust vectoring guy, if you utilize canards, you no longer have to have multiple gyros in line to access those systems. This can be basically multiple gyros in one. So now I can now access thrust vectoring, have my aircraft stabilized here, and have my canard system all operating as independent gyros, but also inside of this one unit, so it can do it all. Because I mentioned 20 stabilized outputs. If you want to, every servo can be stabilized. And I'll give you a silly example. One of them would be like, if you had an open port and you wanted to have your pilot's head stabilized, if you had a warbird pilot with a servo in it, you could now have the system, when the aircraft banks, have your pilot look to the left, or when, and basically have your pilot moving with the aircraft if you want. Again, this is a silly example, but it gives you the idea of you have 20 stabilized outputs, so you can do whatever you want with those 20 outputs. I'm sure you guys will come up with really cool things for that. We talked about thrust vector and canard support, up to 4 independent gyro systems, basically. So keep that in mind. It's pretty cool. It saves you money, quite frankly, if you're a guy that uses multiple gyros. Machined aluminum case and the acoustic insulation, of course, really big, and the locking connector there. Okay, so one last thing that I didn't talk about before we wrap up here is the ability now to have safe technology in your Synapse. Within this module. Now, if you have an AS3000, you know that you only have access to standard AS3X, and you don't have access to safe technology. And there's been nothing in between that and this. And so with Synapse, you now have access to safe technology. And that's not to say you would use it to make your turbine aircraft a trainer. It's not to say you would utilize flying safe, although you could, absolutely. But really, the benefit for me to have safe in any aircraft, regardless of the kind of pilot I am, and I'm not claiming to be the best in the world by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't typically need safe, right? I don't find myself reaching for the safe button on a typical flight. But I will say it has saved me in more than one scenario, and not just with this system. I haven't really put enough flights on this to need it yet. But I have used safe in various situations. For one, random loss of orientation or weird silhouetting, or if you just feel uncomfortable for whatever reason, or my contact shifts in my eye, or I get a sweat bead or whatever. Safe is really helpful for that. If somebody distracts you and you lose sight of your aircraft and you're at a fun fly and you got a lot of stuff going on in the sky, or for whatever reason you don't see your plane for a moment, safe technology can help just keep you know that you're level, find the airplane, fly again. Same thing, if you get yourself into a funky scenario and you just freak out, you got a panic button. So it's not, people sometimes look at safe as like a crutch. I look at it as an insurance policy. And I think you should too, because it really does make, it just makes a lot of really crazy bad situations good again. But anyway, you now have access to safe technology, and you now can also program your fail-safe to safe technology, if that makes sense to you. So previously, fail-safe, you set your airplane up, you bind it, it's going to be, throttle cut, level surfaces, that's my fail-safe. Well, actually now I can set fail-safe to go to safe technology. So if the aircraft is, if I'm, doing a roll and I lock out for whatever reason or have a problem, the aircraft will now go back to safe and level flight because I'm in safe technology in my fail-safe. Or I can set up a specific bank angle, pitch angle, yaw angle. So if I want the aircraft to pop to level and then bank left and right, it can do that. So I think from that perspective, having safe on board, again, not a crutch, an insurance policy. It can really, really save you or your aircraft in multiple scenarios, and having it on board the Synapse is a welcome addition. So I think that's pretty much everything on the Synapse. Of course, it's kind of one of those things that you have to see to really get a feel for it. We can talk about all the new technology and the cool algorithm changes, but until you see it in action or you fly one, that's when it really locks in for you. So I hope you guys get out to the field, and if somebody has one or if a team pilot has one, hopefully they let you fly one out in the field if you're interested. If you're coming to Joe Null, we're going to have these there, of course, and we want you guys to come out and fly, so we'll have a couple aircraft to demonstrate. I'm pretty sure we'll get that going. We'll probably have some MB339s. I'm going to probably have our X-Cubs there as well, which will show it well, but the jet stuff will show it much better. Whew. So that's pretty much a wrap, guys. I think that's everything that I really wanted to talk about with this new system. I'm really excited to bring it to market, and I'm really excited to try it a lot more this season as the weather is turning up. But we have got hundreds and hundreds of flights on this system, and it has been tested globally. It's not just in the U.S. We have pilots in Europe testing it. We got some stuff. Luca Bauman's testing it. It has been testing it and loves it in his 3D aircraft as well as other aircraft. So we've got guys all across the country that have been running this. This is not just a new system. This has been really put through the ringer as far as testing. So I'm excited to have that. If I missed anything, guys, please put your questions in the comments. I do have full access to the engineering team, so if you have very specific questions that I can't personally answer, we can get the engineering team to comment on this video, or I can just repair what they say. But please put your comments down below. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. This channel has kind of grown organically over the years. I know it's about almost 4,000 subscribers, so that's pretty exciting. I'd love to get to that number. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please go ahead and do so. I know you hear that on every single YouTube video you watch, but I really do appreciate it. And it helps me bring more information to you guys, as I don't really make money on this channel. So it's just more of an information thing and a creative outlet for me. So thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys on the next one. And I hope to see you guys at the flying field. We plan on being at a lot of events this year, so please come and talk to us. We're going to be doing some seminars throughout different events as well. So if you have a setup question, if you want to learn more about your radio, we can help you out with that. We have plenty of experts in the field. If you see a blue team shirt, not one of these, this is just one of our trade show shirts that we have, which these aren't for sale, unfortunately, which I'm trying to get them for sale. But if you see a guy in a blue Team Horizon shirt, approach them, ask them questions, and ask them to help you. That's what they're there for. There's over 200 team pilots in the United States. There's probably one of them near you. And so we're excited to continue to offer those guys out in the field as kind of field support reps. They're there to help you guys. They're not there to just show off. They're there to really be a support mechanism for Spektrum. And please reach out. We want to help you guys, and we want to make Spektrum the best that it can be. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I hope you guys have a great night and a great day, wherever the heck you're watching this from. Ciao. We'll see you in the next one.